Howdy, howdy, fellow movie watchers, and welcome back for another edition of the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast, brought to you by PTE Creative. As always, we're your hosts, Evan Davies, and our resident non-expert expert of the Oscars, Dylan Davies. Now, as everyone should know by that intro already, we are doing our second to last Oscars retrospective for a while, at the very least, as we are covering the years of 2014 to 2018 today. And we have one more full show for next month before we get to our Oscars preview for 2025, and it should be a heck of a lot of fun. So we're going to be covering the years 2014 through 2018. I was shocked at some of the quality of these years, because for some reason this is like just a weird ether zone where I either saw almost everything or I saw like nothing.
Yeah, this is definitely where I get into the years where I saw literally everything. Like anything that was awards contender I saw.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is definitely like if it had any hope of being an Oscars contender I saw.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was in the movie theater quite a bit during this time and hunting down movies, because that's what you do when you're an adult with little money. You can do something, but you can't do
Yeah.
a ton. So the best thing you can do is go to the movie theater for cheap, because you can't
Yeah.
afford vacations, you can't afford half that stuff. You know, of vacations, like, I went away to the lake for the week, and it was covered for me essentially. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
is
and most of the time I was not going to the theater. I was watching these illegally
uh,
because I couldn't watch them in the
allegedly,
theater. Oh
allegedly,
yeah, of course. I think the
allegedly.
statute of limitation is up, so I think I'm good.
Allegedly, allegedly, this happened. I saw a lot of these things in theaters though, and we're gonna start with a banger of a year for film. 2014 is fucking loaded, dude, with a lot of
Good year.
good films. So, to set the scene, as we always do, released in 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy, Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, Captain America Winter Soldier, the original Lego movie, Transformers Age of Extinction, which I did then confirm that we are doing the domestic number ones, not the
Yes.
internationals. And I'm okay with that in our big box office series, but that's just a side note for us, because Age of Extinction is the highest grosser in 2014 internationally, which makes me hate the world even more. But still, in 2014, we have Maleficent, X-Men Days of Future Past, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is a tremendous film, Big Hero 6, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Godzilla, 22 Jump Street, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I think that's the first Michael Bay one, if I remember correctly, Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies, Interstellar, How to Train Your Dragon 2, all kinds of good films coming out during this time. A lot of good sequels as
Yeah.
well, so good times here in 2014.
Yeah. Couple notes on the Oscars itself. This is the 19th nomination for Meryl Streep. Always nice to see. This is a ceremony where every single Best Picture nominee had at least one award, so that's always nice to see.
Some
Like,
balance. Okay.
yeah, and this is the first time where that happened, where since it had been expanded to a larger number than five, so it's nice to see like at least every single nominee getting at least some recognition.
Well, it shows that it's a race.
And then,
It shows that it actually is a
yeah,
competition.
exactly. Yeah, and then three of the four acting winners were first time nominees, which I love seeing that. That's awesome. And then this was also the year where hashtag Oscar so white happened. So that was like the entire controversy where this year is where it started, where you had to really face a reckoning of, okay, how do you change the Oscars? You have to either change the way your voting body, how they vote, or you have to change your voting body altogether. So how do you do that? You either have to, yeah, You have to fight more people, especially more people of color
Yeah.
and younger people,
Yeah.
or you have to change the way people vote, which you can't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to just invite younger people and more people of, which is exactly what they started.
Well, I think it's a pretty good reflection the next couple
Yeah,
of years
exactly.
afterwards. That's how it
Exactly. After
works,
this, you start seeing a lot more diversity.
which is good. Um, yeah, no, it is. It's interesting to hear that one this year round, especially
Yeah.
knowing what comes up in the next couple of years. Where you're like, oh, there's an explosion of people of color actually, in comparison to what used to be. I shouldn't say
Well,
explosion
literally
in general, but
all all the acting nominees were white.
yeah,
Literally all of them. So yeah, I mean it's warranted.
it's a fair thing to observe, and going through the next couple of years, it's abundantly clear that they did something right. Whether it's fully right, who knows? But at least we're getting closer to the right direction because you're seeing a lot more people of color nominated for things
Yes.
and winning things. So that's a positive. But good competitive year nonetheless here. So it's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of fun to
So
go through.
technical changes, what do you got?
I makeup and hairstyling. The nomination was Guardians of the Galaxy. I would have went with win for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep. I have that exactly.
I think Guardians of the Galaxy, the makeup and
I
hairstyling is
honestly
phenomenal.
I honestly I love Grand Budapest Hotel. I don't really understand the win. Like
It feels very much like.
there's nothing about that movie that is special in terms of makeup and
Well,
hairstyling
that's what's hilarious is I love Grand
whereas like
Budapest Hotel,
whereas
and
like Guardians of the Galaxy is it's like all that movie is.
yeah, and that's what's funny to me is I love Grand Budapest Hotel. And when I was going through the categories, a lot of the time I'd be like, I don't know, understand why I won that one. I don't understand why I won that one. But then categories that it was nominated for, I was like, I think it deserves that one more than the other person
Yeah,
that got it.
exactly.
Just strange to see how it goes. I also would have liked to see possibly a nomination, as much as it's not a good film, but it's good in this category. The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. I think the makeup and hairstyling deserves a nomination in that. It all
Sure.
looks tremendous. The dwarves all look great. The elves look tremendous with the hairstyling and everything. I just think it deserves a nom. It's not a great
I
movie,
think
but it deserves a nom in that category.
yeah, I think they got a nomination for the first one, but I think that's just their way of thinking is we nominated the first one, we don't need to nominate the third.
And that's not how it should work. I
It's
understand.
not, but I think that's their way of thinking.
We're currently
Um
going. I don't know if it's going to be announced by the time this, because this one we're recording this January 8th, but this is going to come out like the 17th or 18th, whatever day that is on the calendar. So I don't know if they're going to announce the NFL MVP by that time. No, they won't, because they'll do it at NFL Honors. But it's what's happening in the NFL right now. Everyone's like, it's Josh Allen's, and then if you look, Lamar Jackson leads every single category. His team has performed arguably better, and they beat the Bills. You're like, well, Lamar got it last year. You're like, well, that doesn't mean he didn't play
that
better
shouldn't
than
happen.
Josh Allen this year. It just means you don't want to give it to the same person. That's horseshit. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing I feel with movies. It's like just because you nominated it once or they won once doesn't mean you shouldn't do it again if it's the same standard or even higher.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Um
obnoxious to say the least.
is that the only
Oh, I have
ones you
some
had?
more. I got. I'm gonna always fight for my boy Hans Zimmer. Original score, I think, should have went to Interstellar. I think the scores to that movie are tremendous.
I wouldn't hate that. I actually really enjoy the Interstellar
The
score.
Interstellar music is what makes that movie epic.
Yeah, No Time for Caution is
Oh my
one of the
god,
one of the best songs
one
ever.
of it's one of the best scenes you'll ever see in a movie, regardless of if Interstellar has some holes, which it does. But the docking sequence in
It is great.
Interstellar is one of the greatest scenes in movie history. I don't care what anybody tells me. It is so fucking good. And the music is what brings that intensity to it.
And jumping off that, I'll say it didn't get a nomination, but one I had down was film editing. A nomination for would have been the
Yeah,
other one.
the editing there is tremendous. It's almost as if that's like this weird standard during this time in which it feels very much Inception like again with Interstellar going through these categories where say what you will, Interstellar has flaws. It's still a damn good movie.
It's a good. It was not received well though. I think it was so hyped up. That's the problem.
Well, yeah, it's Christopher Nolan, and he's on this incredible hot streak of just making.
Yeah, but I remember that movie being like incredibly hyped up,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like to a point that it could never live up to.
yes. And that's the thing is, I even went in as a huge Christopher Nolan fanboy, going like, okay, it's not The Dark Knight, it's not it's not Inception, but it's still fucking great. So,
Yeah,
but yes, it went in with the hype train that was too high to get past. But the big thing here for me was always it just feels like Interstellar categories it should get nominated or should win for it doesn't, but then it gets recognition towards like Best Picture time, and you're like, Inception got the same thing, where it's just like
well,
Inception
it
didn't
didn't
win.
get nominated. It didn't get nominated for Best Picture, but it got nominated. It won for visual effects, which I find, which I that's one of those things where kind of is like a boiling point to me, where that's where I see the Oscars. It shows a boiling point of, okay, are we focusing on it was a boiling point of, we focusing on practical effects mixed with CGI, or are we going full like performance capture kind of thing? Because it was either Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or Interstellar.
Yeah,
Like it could have went one of those two. And then I was when it went Interstellar, I was like, okay, I was fully on board with that. It's just
it's
shows
tough.
it. Yeah, it shows a yeah a difference in of opinion. I think in the voting base, which I'm okay with.
I'm okay with as long as it's recognized because honestly, it's such an achievement what mocap has done for the entertainment industry in
Exactly, that's the
general.
problem.
And mocap is a game changer. You can bring these characters to life that could never be brought to life before, and we can give. Like I just look at Smaug from the year before that mocap performance, where you can actually get a little bit of tinge of the Benedict Cumberbatch performance in
Yeah,
Smaug, and you can make this dragon not just like this huge beast thing, but you can make it a true character in a movie. Visual effects that immediately is big, and that's why Dawn of the Planet of the Apes they're opening up the world to all of all the apes being huge players in this
yeah,
in this world, and to only and I remember watching Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and just going, God damn, this is fucking like, and I was
yeah.
so
It
impressed with the visual
looks
effect.
incredible.
And then Interstellar, I'm okay with winning over it because they're creating full worlds and having to create things that we as crazy as it sounds, we can comprehend a chimp talking, right?
True.
Because
Yeah,
we can see how it moves, see how it does things, and our brain can make that one little leap from it can't speak intelligently to it can start speaking intelligently. But none of us, outside of a very, very few privileged people on the planet, have ever been to space, can ever visualize half of the shit that
yeah.
Interstellar's talking about. So I understand it. It's just I think the Academy doesn't know what to do with mocap. I would almost, as it gets more and more prevalent, I wish they would just make a
Yes.
mocap category
Well, that's the thing is like it's especially they don't know what to do with performance capture performances
Yeah,
because they never recognize them.
yeah.
Because that's actually one thing I wanted to say about last episode that we talked about that actually just came up recently in a interview with Zoe Saldana. I thought her performance in Avatar should have been nominated, and it's like she never gets recognized for those movies.
Hmm.
She's incredible in those movies. Like she completely disappears into that role.
Yeah,
Like you see no aspect of Zoe Saldana in that performance.
no, unless you're specifically looking for the you can see little tinges of resemblance in the face, but that's it. You have to
Yeah, like
you have to
you can
strain.
yeah,
It's
you completely buy that it is a completely alien person.
yeah.
Like it's incredible her performance in there. So like and there's no different like that he completely disappears into that role. So they just don't know what to do with that. I don't know why, but
I
for some
almost
reason they downplay it.
I almost wish they would just make another category.
I we'll talk about that in 2018. I'll talk about that where they talk about a possible expansion of a category that did not go down. Um, yeah,
I have a few more technical categories here. I would have liked just a nod to Guardians of the Galaxy and costume design. I think the costume design in that is damn good. Makes everything feel very alien but yet familiar. It's a hard thing to pull off, and they do a good job with that. Original screenplay, I think, should have went to Grand Budapest Hotel. I think that's where the brilliance of Wes Anderson is seen is on the page, and the
yeah.
execution of what's on the page.
I had I had either Grand Budapest or I would have been okay with none as well. Either of those two I think are worthy over Birdman.
Yeah. And then adapted screenplay, I could see truly either Guardians of the Galaxy or Captain America: Winter Soldier as an adapted screenplay nom. I don't know if they deserve the win, but both bring a gravitas to a material that was never respected. So where
Sure.
Captain America: Winter Soldier is a true political thriller that just happens to have a superhero in it. It's not a
Yeah.
superhero movie with some political stuff in it. Same deal with Guardians of the Galaxy. You're bringing so many relatable things into an unrelatable world and allowing people to experience something that is so
Yeah.
different, and that comes out in the page. And is it Nicola Perlman or Nicole Perlman? I can't remember which wrote the first draft, and then a lot of that was kept. And James Gunn, apparently, James Gunn fought in a not very nice way to try to get her discredited from the film. And you're like,
Oh, really?
yeah, it's the first time I ever heard anything negative about James Gunn besides he's weird or has
Ooh,
tweets
that's
that
not
don't
good.
age well comedically. But apparently, he very much tried to get her writing credit off of that because he felt that the script that he eventually wrote for the final draft of the film that was executed didn't have enough of her in it. And
Eh, I don't buy that. I never like that. At least give her story by or something.
well, my issue is this: I'm not in that situation. I don't know,
Yeah, that's true.
but at the same time, I don't understand why anybody, when there's a legitimate thing like she wrote the whole first draft, she
Well,
wrote the whole thing,
that's what
and
the
then
that's what WGA arbitrators are there for.
yeah,
Literally, they're there to negotiate that kind of stuff.
and that's where I just go. If they think that's she's got a huge credit to the point where it has to say written by or even story by, what's the harm in that? And the
Yeah.
other thing is this is even if you privately say, I don't think she deserves that, how does that help you? I'm not saying she doesn't. I don't know anything about it besides the initial story of, yeah, he tried to get her off the credits of that. But I don't understand. Just be the babyface politically. Just come out and say,
True.
she wrote a
Yeah,
great
you
first
don't need to do that
draft.
publicly.
Yeah, you don't have to do that anyways, but if it ever comes up and if someone ever hears, oh, I heard we went into some arbitration for the Writers Guild. You can say, hey, there were some discrepancies, but I thought she did a great first job, and uh, to me, I think she deserves the credit, and more power to her. And we went with my final draft instead, though, and that's okay. But she did a great job, and she deserves credit for that. Just say that, and guess what? Everyone's gonna go, oh, see, he was fair and he was honest, and nothing was gonna happen. And everyone will treat you better for it when it comes out publicly like that. Versus, or like you
Yeah.
said, just don't do it in public. But
Yeah.
when the stories come out enough that happens, it makes it slimy. Just makes it slimy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Especially because he seems like such a nice guy
Well,
outside of that.
well, what's crazy is that's the thing is he's so artist first. He's That's
Yeah.
what he's doing with DC right now, where he's like, we're not doing anything without a true artist making something and us approving the script. We're not gonna just be the studio that says we want Batman, make Batman. We want the Flash, make the Flash. He's delayed multiple movies because they don't have a script. He wants them to be in the best shape possible. And he's not doing all of them. So it's just such a strange thing to be in this world where he's, you know, a studio head member, but at the same time, there's this thing 10 years ago where you're like, really? We're going to fight over this? This is just, who
Yeah.
cares?
A couple of mine I had. It would have been nice to see a adapted screenplay nomination for Gone Girl. I'm actually surprised it didn't get one.
That was horseshit. That was
Um,
horseshit.
and this would never happen, but it would have been great to see original screenplay nomination for the Babadook. Never would have happened because it's horror, but would have loved to see.
Yeah, I can
Um,
see that.
then jumping into the bigger categories, so you got Alejandro Inarritu winning for Birdman for director, Eddie Redmayne for The Theory of Everything, Julianne Moore finally winning an Oscar for Still Alice for actress, supporting actor J.K. Simmons for Whiplash, and then supporting actress Patricia Arquette for Boyhood. And Eddie Redmayne, J.K. Simmons, Patricia Arquette are all first time.
Stacked category. The best actor category is insanely stacked that year.
Yeah. Also curious, I just love that you have Eddie Redmayne and Benedict Cumberbatch playing like those big like giants of science.
Yeah.
Now. It's weird that it just happens to be in the same year.
What are the nominees for best actor again?
You okay?
It's
I
Eddie Redmayne for Theory of
uh,
Everything. It's Benedict Cumberbatch for Imitation Game.
so pretty much it was pretty much the race was down to just Michael Keaton versus Eddie Redmayne. The other nominees were Benedict Cumberbatch, Bradley Cooper for American Sniper, and then Steve Carell for Fox.
That's a stacked five, dude. All five
Yeah,
are extremely worthy in many years to win.
yeah, and then the biggest snub was I'm blanking on for Selma for playing MLK Jr.
Yeah.
Uh, Yellow or whatever is.
Yeah, David Oyelowo. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that one being a big deal. Like, how did he not? And then you look at the other five. It's one of those that the criticism that we talked about earlier is absolutely correct. And I haven't seen Selma. I've seen clips of Selma, so I'm not. I'm
yeah.
not.
Selma's it's mediocre, honestly. I don't really think it's that great.
There's a lot of historical dramas that get way too much recognition that are just okay because they tell
Yeah,
impactful stories in an emotional way. But honestly, a lot of people just go, "So how could you not?" And it's like, just because it's a biopic or just because it's about something that's really important. I remember a movie that never got any recognition that I really liked. It was called Bobby. It was about the assassination of Bobby Kennedy. And it goes through the whole day and like all these different
seen that.
characters. I fucking love that movie. It's never talked about ever. And honestly, can I look at it and say, is that an Academy Award winning esque film? I don't think so. I think it's a good movie and it deserves some recognition for just being a good movie. But that's a perfect example to me. It's, hey, just because it's an historical drama,
Yeah,
and goes through like all these different stories in a really good way does not inherently mean it
Yeah.
wins. And that's not to take anything away from Selma as someone who has not watched the full. But when you specifically when it comes to that actor, this category is not one where you just go, "Why'd they make it?" All five of them have a true, legitimate
Yeah.
like, "God damn, they were good this year."
All five are actually great performances, I will say. There's not one where I go like,
Yeah, exactly. That all five are just incredible in the way they handle things. But I have no bitch with it. It maybe in looking back from what I'm seeing, I don't. I mean, I don't think I change anything. I don't know, but there's part of me that's like, I don't know about Eddie Redmayne. But then I kind of just go, well, which one do I think is better?
he's he's great in that movie
He
though.
is, but I also think they're all great in all the other movies, so it's kind of hard to be like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
But yeah, I don't have a bitch about that one. I have a change for best actress, and then I have the obvious question that you know I'm gonna ask in supporting actress.
What's your change in actress then?
Rosamund Pike. She's so fucking good in Gone Girl. It's incredible.
I
She is so
the
good. It's
the
absurd. You hate
thing
that
is
woman.
like,
You absolutely hate that person.
see, the problem is when I saw Gone Girl, I was like, oh, okay, I think she's gonna win. But then going into Still Alice, I heard like, okay, Julianne Moore's probably gonna win for this. I had heard that before the movie, and then when I saw Still Alice, I was like, okay, never mind, Julianne Moore's gonna win. I was like, yeah. So when I saw it just confirmed it for me. I do that all the time. I hear things like going into stuff, and I just it for me.
Okay.
Um, he's great in that fucking movie, Julianne Moore. Like, I have to say, like, does deserve it. But I will agree, like, if it wasn't Julianne Moore, it would be Rosamund.
Rosamund Pike is.
Absolutely fantastic.
Rosamund Pike is an
She's so
actress
fucking hateable in that.
so hateable. And the thing about it is, she's an actress who she really didn't do much of a grand scale prior. She did
Not
Bond.
really.
She did Bond in 2002, and it was one of the. It's by far the worst Pierce Brosnan Bond, but one of the lesser Bonds that makes you go, "We got to revitalize this franchise." So she's got that stink on her with some bad dialogue in it. And I think she's good with what she's given, but
Um, the Invisible Car one is.
yes, it's the Invisible Car
Yeah,
one, where
yeah,
she's the double agent for MI6, but she's also working for the villain.
yeah.
She's
Like,
the foil to Halle Berry's character.
okay, yeah. It's like the worst one.
Yeah, it's by far the worst Pierce one. It's a bad Bond movie, but it's like that's the only thing I can even remember her doing on like a big scale prior to Gone Girl.
Yeah, that's
And I remember
true.
the preview to Gone Girl coming out. I was like, I know her, and I many people that I knew were like, "Who's that?" I was like, "It's fucking Rosamund Pike. She's from James Bond." And everyone's like, "What James Bond movie?" I was just like, "Die Another Day." They're like, "Why the fuck would I care then?" I was like, "Fair. It's a very fair thing to say." But she's one of those actresses I just wish would do more. Anytime she pops up, I'm excited because she always does a good
She's
job.
still not in that much.
I know. It drives me insane.
Uh,
I would love her
yeah,
in a lot of different roles. She'd be great in a lot of stuff.
yeah. The only other one that had some competition was director. It was, but the thing is, like, it's down to Birdman is not like it's one take. So it's like that is difficult in a sense,
Yeah.
but it's like a hidden one. So, which at this point, everyone knows how it's done. Like back then, people didn't understand how it was done. Like they didn't understand how you're hiding the cuts
Yeah.
in there. Like I had no idea how they were hiding the cuts. And then you had Richard Linklater who shot a movie over 12 years, which with the same actors is incredible.
Yeah. It's unheard of.
It's like incomplete, but at the same time, it is like the movie all that great. At times it's great, and at times it's eh.
Well,
Uh,
that's always what is the big thing about that movie is everyone says, "Oh, he shot it over 12 years." Okay, well, what's the quality? Eh,
the problem
up and
is
down.
it starts amazingly strong. Like all the stuff where it starts with the kids. It's just when they start aging into adults, it's weird. So
Okay.
yeah, uh, I that's the thing is I had that change down. I would have went with Linklater only because like I think that's incredible that he did that. Like that's a complete feat. But
Sure.
at the same time, I understand the criticism. Like, does he deserve it just for that?
That's my big thing is if you're saying the quality of the movie ebbs and flows a lot based off the process that he does, which is an amazing process, does it deserve it over a movie like Birdman that is legitimately great?
And if it wasn't for that, I actually would have went with Damien Chazelle for Whiplash,
Okay.
just because I love that movie.
Sure.
Because that movie has like so much kinetic energy that is just like absolutely insane at times. And
Sure.
J.K. Simmons is like absolute fucking bastard. And I'm so glad he won.
Heels got to win, man. I don't
Yeah,
like I don't like a lot of the time when award season comes around and the heels don't win. The bad guys got to win. To have a great good guy, you need a great bad guy. And
yeah,
it's just
yeah. He has he reminds me of a lot of Louis Gossett Jr. in An Officer and a Gentleman, where he's just a complete fucking asshole the entire movie, but for some reason you still kind of like him.
yeah, well
Like,
that's matching
yeah,
a performance, man. To stay in the acting categories, I have to ask the question here. Why the fuck is Meryl Streep nominated for Into the Woods?
I have
Total
no
bullshit.
idea.
Total
It is
bullshit.
total. I agree. It is complete bullshit. It is so baffling.
This is the issue. 2014 is by far landslide the Oscars that I know the most about in terms of the movies that I actually saw. When I can go through categories and when I've seen all of that, or I've seen out of five, or whatever, and I can actually give you a true opinion. And I saw Into the Woods, and I can tell you, Into the Woods is not good, and
Oh, it isn't good.
Meryl Streep is good. She's not Oscar worthy.
Not even remotely Oscar
And
nominee.
and
Oh,
that's where it just felt like that was another one, much like the first thing you brought up, in which Why So White, you know, was that above anything else just went, this Academy cannot A, get past a musical not getting some fucking recognition, and B, they cannot get past Meryl Streep worked, ergo she must win. Or she must get
yeah.
nominated. And it
That one is the
baffling.
most baffling. Yeah, that
So
one's
baffling.
the worst
Do you
example
have
of it.
someone that should be replacing her? Theoretically.
I actually did have Anne Hathaway and Interstellar down.
She's fucking
That's a
incredible in that film.
just a shout out to her. I don't know. I didn't really research all that much more off the top of my head. Trying to think of other
Here's my issue with
uh
this is I can go through
for 2014.
just off the top of my head. I think Anne Hathaway is a better I don't know if she would qualify as a lead or a support, but at the same time,
It'd have to be supporting. It have.
it's bullshit because you can look and see you're like, they're not the lead in that movie, and you're like, well, they are for this category.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think Anne Hathaway is a great shout out in Interstellar. I'm not saying it's the world's greatest performance of all time, but it's better than what Meryl's. This is my bitch. Meryl Streep is just baseline good. No one could dispute that. No one's disputing she's great. Into the Woods is not special in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I can make a better argument for Scarlett Johansson in fucking Captain America and the Winter Soldier as a supporting actress than I can for Meryl Streep in Into the Woods.
True. I mean, I'm looking at just other 2014.
I mean, I can look at Zoe Saldana and supporting actress for Guardians of the fucking Galaxy, or Karen Gillan as Nebula is better than Meryl Streep in Into the Woods. This is just me off the top of my fucking head doing this shit.
Yeah, I mean, it is just, it doesn't make sense, but it's just never going to make sense. That's the
Or
problem.
I'll give you another one because it won't ever get enough credit because this year is loaded. Days of Future Past. I think Jennifer Lawrence is a great supporting actress in that movie, better than Meryl Streep as in Into the Woods.
It's true. Although, I guess she would be supporting. She's not in enough of the movie to lead.
Yeah, that movie is
Yeah, that's
led by
true.
Hugh Jackman and Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy. And Jennifer
Yeah.
Lawrence is a supporting player in that. And she's great in that. That's the last great performance she ever does as a comic book character. And then
Oh,
she just
100%.
stops.
After that, she just goes, "Fuck this! I'm done acting."
She's done. But
Yeah.
that's why I just go, looking at a list quickly, I think I just found three people far more worthy, or four
Yeah.
people far more worthy than Meryl Streep in that performance.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Baffling.
Just a couple of quick shout outs. Jake Gyllenhaal never gets recognized for anything he does for some reason. So
For
it would have
Nightcrawler?
been great. Nightcrawler. Ben Affleck is great. On Girl.
Yeah, that one
Then
bothered me too, that Ben Affleck didn't get one.
and Ray Fiennes is great and Grand Budapest. And it's horror, so it's never out. But Essie Davis is great and Abaddon. Jumping into Best Picture, actual winner is Birdman, and other nominees: Hyper, Boyhood, Imitation Game, The Theory of Everything, Selma, Whiplash, The Grand Budapest Hotel.
I'm fine with the win. I wouldn't change a thing.
You wouldn't change any nominees?
I don't have a replacement.
Okay, I took out.
I tried to look at Interstellar, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Guardians of the Galaxy, or possibly Captain America Winter Soldier to be like, could one of those be deserving of that? And
Mhm.
in this year I was like, I don't know if I have enough ammunition to make
Yeah,
that work.
I see. We talked about it a little bit, but I took out Selma only because I think it whitewashes is a bad word for that movie, but it kind of does like trying to think of the good word. It sanitizes the story of MLK Jr. because it just doesn't tell the whole truth. You know, it it doesn't go to any kind of it glorifies him too much.
It doesn't show the human elements. Like, yeah, he did cheat on his wife, and yeah, he
Yeah,
wasn't always the
exactly.
best dude of all time.
It makes him into a complete saint, which he was not. It should show him as a human.
Well, also
I would have
it makes it more compelling because then you
exactly. I That's one of the things I don't enjoy about that movie. So I took out that and I took out American Sniper. I enjoy American Sniper. I just don't love it all that
to me, I
much.
think American Sniper is a movie of performances. I don't know if it's a total experience worthy of that. I thought about American Sniper, but I was like, yeah, but
I I just don't love that movie all that much. I mean, it is
it's a
it's a
glorification of
good
something that I don't feel needs to be glorified.
I mean, it is like a
It's a
good
damn good
poignant
movie,
story
though.
of like it's a good poignant story about PTSD, which I just feel like it's almost 8 years too late. Like it should have come out much closer to the Iraq War.
Yeah,
Sorry, Iraq War. So I place of those I put Gone Girl and Nightcrawler. And then I don't love Birdman all that much. I love all the performances in it. I don't love the movie.
I love Birdman.
So
I think Birdman's a great movie.
so I put in place of that the Grand Budapest Hotel, which when we do our top 100, you'll see why.
So I don't have any more discussion about the Oscar itself. So I'm just going to kind of go into favorites because I think that'll tell you some stuff. As we always do our favorite from each year.
Oh, yep.
One I would shout out is when I am looking through a ranking that may or may not be really important for next week's show. Maybe not that show in particular, but the topic that we're going to start covering, which is our top 100. Grand Budapest Hotel will make an appearance.
Yeah.
Grand Budapest Hotel sticks with me more than Birdman. But Birdman's so fucking good.
I mean, the
I
performances in it
love
are
Birdman.
yeah, a lot. Every single performance in it is incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
Like literally every single performance.
It's one of those that I remember in the time frame. I don't know if I saw Birdman before Theory of Everything and Imitation Game or not. But I went, how the fuck is he going to lose this? I remember like Michael Keaton, I was like, how are they going to rob my boy? How are they going to do this? Because I know they won't give it to Batman, and it's bullshit. Just, how is he going to get robbed? And then I saw Theory of Everything, and I just went, oh shit, this is a race. I saw Imitation Game and went, oh fuck, this is a real race. And then I saw American Sniper, and I went, movie? Good, not great. This performance by Bradley Cooper? Fuck, that's a good performance. Okay. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it is always there's years where it's like, fuck. Like there's someone you really love that just gets in a close race. And there's years where it's like someone you don't love is the clear
clear-cut
winner.
favorite, yeah.
Fucking A.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it happens.
As of right now, I would say my two favorites from 2014 would be the Grand Budapest Hotel and Captain America: Winter Soldier. Those would be my two favorites of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be close for me too. It'd be Grand Budapest and Guardian.
And that's
I
the
really
other
love
thing,
both.
which is crazy, is I almost want to continue the rankings past 100. Not because I really want to go all the way to 150 or 200, but I truly believe, just looking through this list of 2014, that 5 to 10 of these movies would just get right outside the cut of our top 100. Because I love Guardians of the Galaxy, I love Captain America: Winter Soldier, I love Grand Budapest Hotel, I really, really enjoy Interstellar, and there's the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes I was thrilled by, I loved Birdman. It's just like, goddamn. 22 Jump Street's in this year, and I love 22 Jump Street. I'm like, goddamn, this is a good fucking year for a movie.
Good year.